all of those risk assessments feed down into a kind of a cumulative impact distribution here, where you can see the mean, max. So if you've got multiple cost impacts or multiple time impacts, switch between those, you can see how that's coming through. And therefore, this is what would be exported into Safran Risk if you were then doing some cost modeling or some schedule modeling later.
Right.
There's a lot more still to do with the improvements to that interface, but it does exist. So if you want to see it, then maybe schedule a demonstration with us and we can take you through what that looks like at the moment. And then at the bottom, history. What are all the changes? Who made what change when? Audit trails. People love to see all that stuff in risk databases. Okay, so that is the detail on a risk. A slightly different view would be to click this button here where it says new risk. So if I was to create a new risk for the first time, I get this clean form where I can either borrow from an existing risk that's been written in the global risk register and bring that down at just pre-populated risk, and then I just use the sliders as applicable. So the sliders, how do I assess this COVID risk? It's happened in the past. What does it look like on this project? Might be very different to other projects. Some projects are more exposed to some things than others, right? So that's the global risk approach. Otherwise, you draft, write out the description, notes, what's the source, what's the likelihood of that source occurring. Then you hit the plus button. So it's possible to add multiple sources and start building that bow tie just in a really basic shape. So you've got a kind of basic structure, like the bare bones of the bow tie. Or you don't have to do a bow tie, just a single source and a single impact is the bare minimum, right? So if it's a low level risk, but you want to capture it just very quickly, you've got the freedom to do that. What I also liked was Mark Turner used to do this quite a lot, so I'm going to attempt it, is if you just shrink down that screen there like that. If you can imagine that was a mobile phone. So if you're on your browser, this would be how it would look on your phone. So if you're out on site, you see something, it triggers a thought, you want to capture it, get back to the office and then flesh it out later. This is an easy way of capturing that. I quite like
cool.
That.
Very good,
That's risk capture, risk assessment. We've already seen the product is the dashboard is the main one, but the other sort of secondary main one, if you will, is the contingency. So you can set up contingencies, multiple if you want, or just have one, and then there's an audit trail around the release of contingency, so you can manage that and show that happening as your project matures. And then this is supposed to be like a Manhattan diagram. I've probably not set this up very well just yet, but different phases of the project attract different risk exposures is what this is supposed to be showing. So the blue represents the phase. So you can see the some lower blue, like the height of the bars are lower here. But total exposure over a very long duration project is very, very high. So adding all those bars together gives you the total exposure, I suppose. And then you can see the mitigation again and what the probability of or suitability of that is. So against our pre-mitigated risk exposure, that blue bar or column, whatever you want to call that line, it doesn't even touch the pre-mitigated probability. So clearly it's only suitable when used in the context of the post-mitigated position. So that's implying that you guys out there, all 300 of you that are on my project, you are all going to be doing your mitigations, right? Because actually, as it stands, this is not looking great. I'm getting like P5. Like I have 5% confidence that this contingency is sufficient to get us to the end of the project. I'm ringing my alarm bell when I see that. I'm calling an emergency conversation because these guys in the senior management team have somehow got us into this situation. We've not spotted it before, but I'm telling you, I'm seeing it right now, and I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm very worried. If that blue bar was all the way up here, say, and it was there, I'd have P85 confidence that, assuming we complete the mitigation measures, it's going to be all right. If I bring back in my my pre-mitigated view, like that P85 here is actually only about P10 pre-mitigated. So again, urgency around the actions, completing them, because if we don't, then we have to assume we're in the red picture and not the green picture, and the red picture is so much worse.
Yeah.
So that's in the aggregate. That's the aggregate of all the risks on this particular project's risk register. I think there might be other reports and things that you can do the aggregated view of this on the portfolio. Certainly in portfolio view, you would go to select a bunch of projects. Like we could select all of the projects. I mean, it'd be a bit of a mess if we do that, but we could load everything. This is demo data in different states of readiness for use.
Right.
But once they're loaded in here, we can now say, right, give me some reports on all of those projects. Give me a basic projects overview. So what's the award stage and who's the project manager, the value. So I've got completion percent as well. What's my current contingency and things. So I'm getting some basic data. Fine, that's okay to see. What's the contingency movement? Well, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. We've got some projects with contingency, some don't have them. Some projects you might want to put under a filter and say, well, don't show me the projects that aren't active. Just show me the projects that are active, because of course they don't have a contingency, because we haven't gotten into contract yet with some of these projects. So you can look at everything in the aggregate, but you're still going to want to apply some degree of filtering on these things. So what I'm showing you now is the last thing that we're going to talk about, and that is the portfolio view. So this is actually another role type. So I mentioned Tracy, I think her name was, is that we've got a user that can log in here, and she's a graduate, she's in head office. So she can see some of this aggregated stuff, but she's got no sense of who is managing individual risks, who is culpable, or what is it? What is the risk about? She doesn't have that level of detail. She doesn't have security clearance to see it. She's not assigned to those projects, but she is allowed to just aggregate and pull together the overall risk exposure of the projects in a particular portfolio or the entire organization, the entire ERM. She could do that. And she could also look at, the process health, like how's it all going? Right, how's data center in Seattle comparing to that in Finland, comparing to my bulk import test, wherever that one is. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of projects that don't have any data to talk about. There's my bulk import test over there. Oh gosh, I got 6 actions not started in time. Okay, it's a fictional project, but you can see how this communicates, hopefully at a glance, or just in the detail, and doing the filtering again. So yeah, there's some aggregation tools. Is the kind of take-home message here for contingency, for all these other things. So